I realized how limiting my beliefs were, especially in my most depressive states.
Mm-hmm.
I realized how caged in, and I realized that my life didn't bring me joy. It didn't bring me happiness. I was subject to whatever somebody told me I should do. I found my own identity through the process of making those videos. I think understanding my joy, understanding my gratitude, my love, my empathy, just connecting with those elements of my life, I realized who I truly was.
Right.
And when I see people on the day-to-day who aren't realizing their true self, they're also not able to give their true gift.
Sure.
So it's kind of whatever challenge comes ahead of me, it's worth it for me to allow that for people, because I am also allowing it for myself.
People are fascinating, especially up close. More especially when you get them talking about the things that they love. This is From the Hip, conversations in the service of passion, purpose, and play. I'm Adrianne Gunn. You ready to play? Today on From the Hip, I'm sitting with Christopher Franklin, actor, model, and host of Live in Portland, as well as the Lost in Portland podcast. Oh man, so Chris, hi.
Hello.
Welcome to this space.
I feel welcomed.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I got to do some Googling. I didn't do intense Googling.
Yeah.
Because I think you know how I like to not necessarily prepare.
Yeah.
It's really a deep value
Mm-hmm.
to be unprepared for things. But I did find your model profile on Instagram.
That seems to shock a lot of people.
Does it?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so the thing is, I know you have a podcast or several shows you do, and then apparently you're a model.
Yeah.
I love how you can be a guy and have a tasteful shirtless photo.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
Right? I don't think I could. I don't think many women could have a
tasteful. Okay, I see where you're going with
photo.
that. Well, we got to free the nipple for that. For sure,
fair.
that needs to happen. I say it's shocking because in a lot of ways I'm emulating a character in my modeling. So it's not. So a lot of people know me. I love to be in the outdoors. I love to travel. Like when I'm on the day-to-day, like on the streets, I'm not particularly worried about fashion.
Sure.
But I dress up really nice, or according to my clients. So
yeah,
it's been a career that's actually fueled a lot of my creative endeavors, and I've enjoyed it completely.
When did you get to do that? So I'm thinking of my grandmother when I was tiny. Now, super racist, by the way. My grandmother and my grandfather, and it's not the worst thing about them, but they're also very loving and beautiful people when they were alive. You know, mixed bag. But she kept wanting to get me into modeling when I was little and had a giant underbite, and that was like she just kept trying to like take photos and get me out there, and so I had like this much exposure to like maybe modeling world, but it wasn't apparently my path yet.
Yeah.
How do you get in there?
Well. Yeah, it was. I know I was in college, and I've always been an athlete my whole life, and those were like things that I was really good at. But I knew I didn't want to pursue basketball, until they didn't draft me in the NBA. I was also really good at volleyball, but it was something that I would have to be in college for like 6 years because it was like 8 units. Per semester just for volleyball.
Yeah.
So like I knew I didn't want to pursue sports, but I love to work out. I love to challenge my body. And I was thinking either I could be a personal trainer or I could be a model, to like influence me to continue to pursue my physique goals.
Right.
And so I was in pretty good shape. My friend recently had a photo shoot done, and I was like, hey, can you get that photographer to shoot me? It was my first photo shoot. We came out with some awesome images. And then the hard part of casting, still to this day, is always like going to your auditions.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would first submit my pictures on Craigslist, and then I learned that story very quickly. That's not the way to go. And then I started submitting my pictures to agencies, and they'd ask me to come in, and I kind of worked my way up through the agencies. So, I mean, a beginning model, I tended to work with beginning agencies. They'd get me some auditions, I'd book some, and as that grows, I built my resume, and then it became easy to approach agencies like, this is the work I've done. I kill auditions. I could come in confidence, you know, like it allowed me to kind of channel this energy that I had inside me.
Yeah.
Because I think I've always been a little shy, just kind of like not wanting to be in front of camera, not wanting to be in front of a huge audience. And another factor is I saw that fear directly in my face, and it was something I can engage with.
Yeah.
Like I could approach that fear and realize, like, no matter what, if I have a bad audition, if I look bad on camera, I'm still gonna be fine at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And that was like kind of like the first thing to like approach my fears. Like, I'm going to be okay after, you know, after whatever chaos is happening in my mind.
So I want to slow that down because at this point, that whatever that fear was and shyness about cameras, maybe you still have it. Do you still have it?
I would say no.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you remember what you chose to do instead with the fear? Do you remember in the early days?
Yeah. 101. Addressing the camera as a friend. So a lot of the times, like, I'd even call it by my friend's name, like in my head.
So like this friend?
Yeah, so Corey was one of my first friends who I turned into a camera, but an actual real friend.
Yeah.
And someone who I have, you know, a lot of energy towards. And so when I could look into the camera, I could see Corey, and I could give him eyes of fear, love, like all those things. And working in a progression from that, like now I just, you learn not to address them, you know, in most things. It's act as though the camera's not in the room. Yeah. And that's when you get your best work.
It's funny because was it a week ago? A week ago or so, I was at an event. I happened to know Hypnosis. I was at an event, and there was a gentleman who was having shyness and having an ab reaction to the sound of his voice in a microphone. And I joked over headset that, like, you know, give me 5 minutes and alone time, and I can hypnotize him into having a different relationship, into loving his voice in the microphone. And what was hilarious is that, like, an hour or so later, I'd made that joke, and somebody's like, hey, you still up for doing hypnosis? And the guy took me up on it. And part of what I helped him establish, one of the actual skills and techniques, is to have that friend there and get very specific about who that is, who the person is that is in your front row or in your audience, so that the moment you speak, you know that their heart lights up and that energy is in the room and lights you up. And I had him connect with that. And so you had your Corey friend. Yeah. I read somewhere, I think it's somebody who's like a professional blogger, talks about having the idea of the audience of one.
Yeah, totally.
And getting very specific. So I know that we're connected to a whole bunch of entrepreneurs and creative people who get that video is part of what's asked of them. Yeah. And they have issues around the camera. And that is one of the best techniques of making the camera someone dear to you. And not just someone dear, but somebody who really loves whatever you have to offer, gives you great feedback and energy. It's a good relationship. Although I imagine that there are some people who use the negative version, like, I'm going to show you Uncle Billy.
Oh, Uncle Billy. Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
whoever.
Well, you know what? It's funny because it has progressed from, people I love to actually, now I understand recording because I've done so many things like either commercials, TV shows. Now I'm doing my own show live in Portland, but with the podcast, I'm actually addressing future me with the contents of my mind now. Mm-hmm. is kind of how I address it.
Nice.
So it's being able to be in the moment so much that I can actually take a snapshot of where I am in my life, and I know, whether it's a week from now or 10 years from now, I'm going to be able to look back on that, mm-hmm. or it may come back to me, and I could be like, oh my gosh, that was 2018. That, I was going through all these things, and it's amazing to see myself, rise to the occasion, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been doing a little of that too.
Yeah.
Like, one of the earliest things is I started turning a camera around to capture, 2-minute thoughts I was having. Mm-hmm. I was doing it as a reminder. It was like, kind of like making note-taking for myself. So I'm like, mm-hmm. I sometimes forget this magical thing about breathing. So
yeah.
It's important. So I'm going to do this quick video about breathing so that just in case mm-hmm. I forget and I see this 2 years from now, it's a reminder. And those pop up. Yeah. On Facebook, it's pretty funny, like a marker of, or having learned something and mastered something. Yeah. Just like boom, having it instead of like journal or diary entries. Yeah.
So the creation of Lost in Portland, which is my company, and the creation was when I moved to Oregon.
When was that?
5 years ago.
Okay.
I moved from Southern California. Everybody would tell me that I was going to get depressed. The weather was going to get me down. Yeah. I was in kind of a difficult relationship with my then wife, who was going to medical school. So that's taking up all of her time. I kind of felt alone mm-hmm. when I moved up here. And I knew my relationship with depression, and I could feel it coming. And I said, not now. Yeah. I'm going to pursue the things that make me happy. And in that, I created 15-second videos because Instagram allowed you to do 15-second videos. Yeah. I do 15-second videos of places I would find my joy each and every day. Yes. And so even still to this day, like I'll go back to the page, and it's literally every single day of my life I'm finding something new and going out and like spending like 3 hours trying to find something that will bring me joy. Mm-hmm. I say kind of like the woohoo moments. Like I'd yell now, but it'd be awkward. But like
I don't know if I set it up for the yelling.
You know what I mean? Like just those moments of just pure bliss and joy. And I realize when you seek those moments, you find them more often.
Oh, heck yeah.
Yeah.
I love that you used Instagram for that.
Yeah.
I was avoiding Instagram because I'm not really a photo photographer. I'm not really mm-hmm. that visual. Mm-hmm. And when a friend got me kind of hooked, I decided to specifically use Instagram to find beautiful things in that same state of understanding that I was focusing a bit too much on the things I didn't want to see in my own life and in the world. And I was like, wait, what if I deliberately go out and make myself take like a walk for 15 minutes and find something beautiful to take a photo of? Mm-hmm. And then I kept doing that on purpose and shifting. Yeah. So your show, I don't know how you describe this because it seems like there's a podcast and a show, and then there's this project.
It's a project, yeah.
Started as a way for you to connect to joy.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and still to this day, it's lived true to that. I've for Lost in Portland, I've made my own apparel. We've had a successful podcast that I'm really excited to get back into. But like the latest and greatest is the Live in Portland show, and it means so much to me because you and I are kind of in the same field. Is we recognize the strengths in other people, and we want to really highlight that. And I think about, people's psyche in Portland. I see a lot of, I almost want to say overachieving creatives.
Okay.
Like they're doing so much, but they're so insular. Like there's a self-consciousness here.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to give them the opportunity to talk and be proud of the work that they've done, because it seemed as though no one was going to ask me what I wanted to do, or what I was trying to accomplish. So when I sit down with somebody, I get to ask, tell me all about it.
Yeah.
And in a lot of ways, it's fulfilling for myself. That's a selfish deed of pulling out, I guess, what we're speaking into, because a lot of these projects, a lot of the creative entrepreneurs and the creative artists, they still have things in their mind that they haven't put on paper.
Yeah.
And so they could speak it into existence on my show, and then I could help reinforce those things. So it almost changes trajectory, if they weren't asked to be on the show and they're feeling a little down, they may quit that project. I want to keep those projects going, because I think they could do so much for Portland.
So you're saying that part of what you were wanting to achieve with the show is helping to keep artists' energy
the flow
flowing.
going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, how the heck did you learn that was something that you were good at or interested in? Do you remember?
I mean, it goes back to addressing fears. I realized how limiting my beliefs were, especially in my most depressive states. I realized how caged in, and I realized that my life didn't bring me joy. It didn't bring me happiness. I was subject to whatever somebody told me I should do. I found my own identity through the process of making those videos. I think understanding my joy, understanding my gratitude, my love, my empathy, just connecting with those elements of my life, I realized who I truly was.
Right.
And when I see people on the day-to-day who aren't realizing their true self, they're also not able to give their true gift.
Sure.
So it's kind of whatever challenge comes ahead of me, it's worth it for me to allow that for people, because I am also allowing it for myself.
Totally.
Yeah.
So here's one of the things. So I was on your show just Monday.
Yeah.
Was it just
Monday? Yeah.
So fun. And I got to witness the show the week before, because a friend of mine was playing music on it. And there's the thing so there's an energy, and that was a beautiful thing to find, but there's something that I think that you were able to cultivate, and you'll eventually check out Live in Portland and Lost in Portland. Here's the thing that I found most fascinating, and I wonder if you know how you accomplished this.
Okay.
I walked in, and there were 4 or 5 different people wandering around in your crew, setting up the cameras, playing around, and so the second time I went there, I started talking to these guys, and I recognized that they are there because they wanted to play with you.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah.
And I don't know how your entrepreneuring has gone.
Yeah.
I know a lot of solo entrepreneurs and creatives and artists that don't necessarily have a community. It can be a lonely process to be working on a project and doing something in the world. And I'm very curious about how you've cultivated this group of happy people willing to show up and play each time. It's a phenomenal thing.
It's really good feedback. I love everybody on set, and I feel amazing gratitude because we're still launching. As far as financial gain, it's not really the place to be right now.
Yeah.
But I've known my vision for a very long time, and whatever's gotten in front of me, I'm going to keep on doing it. I think they probably see that in me as a leader or as somebody at the helm of the ship. I'm going to keep on going, and I'm going to keep on going regardless.
Yeah.
And a lot of it, I love that we do the show live because it is kind of an example of that. Whatever comes, I'm going to find a way to make the best of it.
Sure, yeah.
So I want to create opportunities not only for myself, but everybody involved. And I always believe that when people live within their passion, they contribute so much to their community. So when it comes to my friends helping out, I really want to hone in on what they're passionate about or what they love to do, so that we could just kind of exemplify that. Like, we could really bring it out.
Yeah.
And we gain so much. I want to see the best in my friends. I absolutely do. So
yeah,
that's where it's at.
So how's the like? So you really think that since you're in your zone of genius or excellence and part of something, you've tapped into something that's part of your passion, that's inspiring your friends, or do you have like?
I think I wasn't afraid to show my work.
Yeah.
So I would say I get really excited about the Live in Portland show because I finally have a team.
Yeah.
The podcast, the clothing line, the video blog, were all done by myself. And that was just me like trying to figure it out. And it wasn't pristine. It like, I just wanted to get it out there. And same with the show, like I just wanted to get it out there. And I think a lot of my friends see the method in which I work, and they're like, he's willing to take chances. Yeah. And, like, he's going to go for the big goals. And the progression, and it's a drive in me. Like, I constantly want to see this progress. And it's obvious when you're on set, like, okay, this show's better than the last. This show's better than the last. This show's... And we're moving into event venues, bigger spaces where we could sell tickets for the show. And I really want this to not only inspire my crew, not only inspire future me, not only inspire the guests who are on the show, but think about a community where we're inspired by the creatives who want to create solutions. Like solution-oriented thinkers. Yeah. We can achieve so much more if we just give the people who have ideas a chance.
Totally. Yeah. Now, you said something that I happen to know is sort of I don't know if people are that aware of solution-oriented thinking in the process. I get to geek around talking about linguistic specificity. What did I just say? So the utilization of your language and solution-based thinking is the foundation, part of the foundation of the coaching model is helping people begin to focus on their solutions rather than their problems. Yeah. Because if you're going to be putting your energy anywhere, putting your energy into solutions is better than putting your energy into problems. And a lot of people, we're taught in elementary school about the beloved red pen of critique and what you did wrong. And I keep wondering what would happen if we shift as a society to, I don't know, a rainbow-colored multi-pen that can go in.
We should always have rainbow-colored multi-pens in everything we do. Yeah.
Yes. What would our society be like if we were looking at something and we were able to quickly identify the things that are going well and the ideas that we could build upon and what our society would be like, because we get a lot of reward for critique and noticing the problems and seeing what's broken and seeing what's not working. And we don't have a lot of practice necessarily. Maybe it's new schooling. I don't have children, so maybe new schooling is giving them the rainbow markers and they're going
I don't think that's the case. No, our education systems needs a lot of help.
That is the rumor. I did hear that rumor. Yeah. I have friends with kids. Yeah. But what happens when you begin to to focus on what you can do, and or begin to ask the question, like, how can I do this thing? I have this goal, and instead of thinking all of the things that are in the way, like what's working for me?
Yeah.
And what can I do forward? So solution focus. I remember when I was first getting my coaching, there's actually a book. I think it might even be called Solution Focus or something like that.
Okay.
I remember you talked about that on your show.
Yeah.
When did you find that idea?
Well, I realized my relationships with thoughts that hindered me, that slowed me down. So whether it's jealousy or guilt or just kind of like self-denial, like I was afraid to see the greatness that I could become.
Right.
And I realized that there is a limit to how much mental energy you can exert. And I think it was amongst those daily videos. I discovered so much about myself that if I pursue the things that I want to, and I hinder the limiting thoughts, and I allow for solution-oriented thinking, I mean, I get just that. Like, I get closer to my goals with every thought, with every movement, with every action that I take. And I'm still developing it, but I become more efficient in everything I do. So I remember there's a good story. My friend and I were heading out to Peru. And
like you do.
yeah. Little did I know that we were leaving actually the day before I thought we were leaving. And it was an early flight. It was like a 6 a.m. flight. So my friend comes over to my house at like around 4. And I thought she just went out that night. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm working on this podcast. Like, I'm going to get up and work on this podcast because I have crazy hours. Are you excited about tomorrow? And she's like, tomorrow? We got to get going today. We've got like 40 minutes. And my bags were not packed. And it was fun to hear her feedback on how I maneuvered throughout that time, because it was, okay, I got to get this. I got to get this. I got to get this. I'm putting things in my bag very calmly. I'm checking around, and making sure that I have everything. And she's like, Chris, most people I know would have just freaked out. They would have gave up. They would have had all this panic. But I realized, like, I had no room for that. Like, it was the tasks at hand need to be done.
Yeah.
And it was surreal to me, like, to have that feedback. Like, okay, that is how I approach things. I don't freak out. I address what's in front of me. And along with addressing fears, like addressing the things that kind of scare you the most will provide the biggest solutions to your life.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Fun. Do you think that's partly the athlete in you? Sort of trained around a clock differently than other people?
I would assume a lot of my athletic background comes into play, because there is this kind of grit, like kind of grinding my teeth and just going. And like when it comes to me in the gym, like it's finding this relationship with pain that allows me to go further. And same with the outdoors. I love to hike. I love to trail run. And I find that, like, the moment I'm at my weakest and I just want to give up, if I just carry on a little bit longer, I get to my destination and it's absolutely worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like taking my limits to the next limit. I really enjoy that. I really enjoy, kind of like the day-to-day process of it.
I miss that. I was never quite an endurance athlete. I played soccer, basketball, and tennis. So there's a lot of sprinting in that. And when I learned that I needed to get lungs for soccer, I needed to learn how to be a longer distance runner. There was a couple times in my life where I was doing 5 miles, like, daily, And there's this thing that happens, and it's a beautiful practice and it hadn't hit it in any length of time that wasn't 5 miles. So there's something around like mile 3. I mean, all of the first mile is just really uncomfortable. Everything's jiggly and vibrates the wrong kind of way.
Totally.
Things feel achy. And then somewhere around mile 3, it's just like, why the fuck am I doing this?
Yeah.
There's like horrible thoughts that show up. And then I don't feel I can go on. Something hurts in my body. And then I just sort of ask it to shift. There's something that happens. There's some switch that flips. And when I've been running a while, it would go like this. It'd be like, remember how you thought about this yesterday at this point? This is what happens at 3.6 miles. This is how this works. I'm like, oh, right. And then push beyond. And there's something that like mile 4, this like gliding euphoria comes over my body. The breathing is locked in. And then it's magic. And I almost could like run several more miles before I'm done. And then there's this beautiful, serene high that lingers all day long.
Totally.
Just cars could be blowing up next to me. I'm just going, oh no. Well, look at that arc. It's so delightful. Crash. There's just like in the practice of that kind of hitting those thresholds of pain and oh no, I can't go on anymore, but then passing through them.
And
it's a big deal.
And you're literally like limiting the amount of energy you could possibly give. So if I had an amazing workout and somebody cut me off on the way home, I've got no energy to have that whole freak out. It's just not in me anymore. All that energy was expelled, and there's a relationship that I learned with myself, with my subconscious. And I think a lot of us in our day-to-day don't address our subconscious. The more we get into patterned routine, we're dealing with our subconscious less and less. And so I do things like endurance runs and float tanks and just spending time by waterfalls where I could address the thoughts that are always running, but I don't pay attention to. And I think that's allowed me to progress in a fantastic way.
I think it's fascinating that people actually think that they are who they think they are. I'm sorry, I'm gonna explain that. But so the thing is, we think that we have conscious free will. We think that we have the ability to just, pick something and then do it. And I use unconscious because it's a fun word to say you're unconscious.
Yeah, totally.
Like, wait, you mean my unconscious or am I unconscious? And it's kind of fun to play on. So our subconscious, our unconscious mind does so many things for us, and there's so many strategies and patterns that we're living out that are old. And people they think that the personalities we have, the egos that we've developed over the years, we think that that's us. But what's more us are the underneath, the beliefs, the things happening underneath that we're not generally aware of.
Absolutely.
And
there's a lot going on.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
More of who we are.
Yeah.
Kind of all of who we are under there. When did you start learning
about the unconscious me?
Yeah. I learned it when I read the Tim Gallwey's Inner Game of Tennis when I was 13.
Okay, I'm unfamiliar with that book. Yeah.
You are or not?
I'm unfamiliar.
Oh, yeah. So the concept, I was just trying to play tennis better. And one of the things that people do in tennis and golf is very common for people to just be like, I need to swing my swing like this. And they're trying to like use their conscious mind to force the body into things or attempting to like calibrate whatever shitty shot that they did and then fix it by like, I have to. And so Tim Gallwey's book was kind of impressive for people back in the 70s when he put it out, because he's like, your body knows exactly what to do and it's way better at doing it than you are.
Absolutely.
In your unconscious mind, that's how you learn to do the swing.
Yeah.
And so if you get out of the way.
Totally.
So that's when I learned, what? There's this other me?
Yeah.
When did you start learning about it?
I'd say I'm still in the process of it.
Yeah.
I think right now I'm overcoming a lifetime of self-doubt and self-consciousness and negative talk And those were all things that were happening in my subconscious that I needed to address. And one of the big breakthroughs for me was moving up to the Pacific Northwest and spending time by waterfalls. As cliche or
well, how was it that it? Do you know why waterfalls?
So I don't know why. I know what it does.
Yeah.
When I'm around waterfalls, a lot of those negative thoughts cannot exist. It gives me a different mind space, and I try to like map that mind space as much as possible so that I can bring it back to the city, when I'm not around the waterfalls.
Yeah.
When I get really nervous or anxious, I'll take a deep breath similar to the breath I will take at a waterfall. I have this weird kind of thing that I do. I like to believe, whether it's true or not, that I could breathe in deep by a waterfall and that air is somewhere deep in my lungs.
Yes.
So when I get into the city and I'm kind of breathing at a faster pace and everything's going on, that I could access that energy wherever I am because it's deep in my lungs. So
it's brilliant.
It reminds me to breathe, you know. It reminds me to like just take the time. I think I like to say I'm getting influence from just this ancient rock and water that's been operating in a similar way for millennia.
Yeah.
I get to communicate in a way. And like things like bills and like all the anxieties of a city, they don't matter there because you're thinking in a longer term. You're thinking about your presence on Earth. Like my last cable bill doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
So I think relationships with the earth, with things that have been around for a very long time, you get a different mind space and perspective on what's important. And when it comes down to it, my self-doubt isn't really important.
Yeah.
My limiting beliefs aren't really important. What's important is what I'm going to leave this world with. What I'm going to contribute to my community. So it's just one of those things that I will always fight for. It's funny I use the word fight, but recognizing that I come from peace removed my self-doubt.
Yeah.
Recognizing that my goal is to make this world better, and I'm a constant student. I will always be learning, but I'll always do my best and keep on trying and overcoming these things that seem difficult.
Yeah.
I know I could do a lot.
I love that.
Yeah.
One of the things you did intuitively, which I think is very beautiful, is you intuitively came up with something that is literally a technique that people utilize to help people shift their patterns and perspectives. And the term, it's called anchoring.
Okay.
So you have a good feeling.
Mm-hmm.
You're near a waterfall. You know that you have a good feeling there.
Mm-hmm.
And so that you connect with, you connect with your breath, you connect with the energy of that, and you take it in as deeply as possible. And so each time you go to a waterfall, you reinforce that anchor of that beauty.
Yeah.
And then when you need to feel the way that you feel, when you're in that situation, you take the same breath. This is the same thing as when on your free throw line.
Yeah.
When you have a ritual around getting into the motion so that every shot is the same, that's anchoring.
Interesting.
It means that in heightened moments you can still access that very simple ritual and get there quickly.
Yeah.
So you like intuitively utilize something. Anchoring is something that Tony Robbins utilizes all the time, getting people to switch their state and reconnect to their more joyful state.
Yeah.
And a lot of the people who do mindfulness and meditation teaching talk about how you can use nature as these metaphors to bring them into your daily life. And so how you decided and figured out that you could just like bring the waterfall home with you.
Yeah. It's a gift. I mean, it's nothing less than a gift. And I think about, I mean, I've been sitting closed off. Yeah. I think about all the times I could open up myself to gifts. You know, and it's not a selfish thing, you know. We must be fed in order to give. Yeah. You know, and finding those places where we can open up and just kind of be free and anchor, you know, like you said. I look for those opportunities because I know it's not always going to be that way. You know, I know there's trials ahead. Yeah. And to keep that sound mind amongst the chaos is a practice that I'm continually practicing, and having that intuitive joy and happiness that lies within me. Yeah. You know, it's in me. Like it's not coming from outside. Mm-hmm. You know, it's something that I've been generating for a long time. I've been developing this relationship with happiness.
Have you seen that cute little cartoon? So like, happiness, where'd you find it? And the like cartoon character's like, I made this myself.
Yeah, I have seen that. I love that.
Like holding it like a jar, like this is mine.
Yeah.
It reminded me of that.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it is, and it's important that we all have that relationship with our happiness, because at the end of the day, you know, the journey is what's most important, and we're taking each day step by step. I think our goal is always happiness, but we could have that along with us the whole time. Mm-hmm. You know, whatever our circumstances, bring our best to the table every single time.
Yeah. I'm having a thought, it keeps poking at me. So you've talked a bit about how you're driven. Are you willing to talk about what some of your juicy things you're reaching for and driving for? Because you've got this show. Yeah. You've probably got I don't know. Do you have a decent life? Things going pretty well for you? It sounds like you're in a process.
Things are going well. I look at my community, the people I have around me. Like you said, the people working on set, my friend groups. I'm the most rewarded I've ever been in life. I have this quote by Bob Marley. Now I'm limited on what it is, but essentially he's saying like that money is not the solution, and money doesn't hold value when you don't have a good community. Right. And when I look at my community, I'm just fulfilled and enriched in so many ways. The people around me, I have so much, like when they do good, when they're achieving more, I just get so fulfilled. And I don't think I would have had that mindset not moving to Portland.
Really?
Yeah, I think moving to Portland was a major factor in just kind of creating that paradigm shift that I'm not really after the financial goals. Like, I'm after the community goals.
Yeah.
And I'm finding myself so fulfilled by my community goals. Like the people around me, I do it. I do it once a week. I bring on the people around me to the show so I could showcase how amazing my community is.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. I keep reflecting on the fact that I love the desert. Mm-hmm. And there are a couple of cities in deserts, and I don't feel like I'm supposed to be there right now because of the people who are here. Okay. There's this kind of energy and opportunities in the relationships with the kinds of people who live in this area that we get a different set of people, certainly.
Totally.
Of course, whatever I'm looking for, I'm going to find. Yeah. And it's one of the things that I just feel there's just such this fruitful community here where more than other places, people are aware that there's not really such thing as competition. The more that we thrive together,
we win
the
together.
better we win together. Yeah.
And I think about, like, I've always had this concept of the Portland state of mind and bringing that all around the world. That was my concept with the clothing line was, and it's funny, you know, one of my friends brought one of the sweatshirts to Machu Picchu, took a picture.
Yeah.
2 years later, I'm there in Machu Picchu. Same, my brother was in Rome, you know, wearing the clothing line, and I'm in Rome, and it's kind of, there's an energy we cultivate in Portland that I'd like to see spread.
Yeah.
I'd like people to go to, like, Texas and Arkansas and New York, and bringing this energy of non-competition, solution-oriented thinking, and, you know, I think there's concepts of community that we are building here. Maybe we aren't all privy to, but we are building something very special here in how we interact as a community, and I'd love to see that spread.
Absolutely.
I mean, Portland's not a huge city when it comes to the major cities even on the West Coast.
Yeah.
But its influence is wide. You know, I go to different places around the world and people know of Portland, and they have this concept of it that comes from Portlandia.
Now, have you been on that show?
I have not.
Okay, I'm just curious.
But I think of, you know, how we progress past Portlandia. Okay, you know our quirks now.
Yeah.
You know, we have these comical quirks. Like, I think with Live in Portland, these are these quirks in action.
Yeah.
We're extreme hobbyists. We love what we do. We dive deep into it. But a lot of it is self-fulfilling, but it also fulfills the needs of our community. And so I really want to highlight that and normalize it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when we think about, like, long-term goals, I want everybody to pursue a creative endeavor. I think we could communicate better when we do that. Words are limiting.
Sure. Yeah.
But when it comes to playing music, when it comes to building a business, you know, we get to, like, stretch ourselves out, because, you know, creative writing is a useful tool. We get to see a little bit closer to our full potential.
Yeah.
And if we, as a community, strive to see our full potential, I think that impact on the world could be significant.
And I think what I noticed in the shows that I got to be there in the live audience, and one of the things that maybe, I don't know if I'm accomplishing it yet, in my promise of this show, it's passion, purpose, and play.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that people pick up on when, even from Portlandia, and you're, like, extreme hobbyists, this idea that we're taking things that give us pleasure, that we're excited about, and creativity and play, and we're making lives from that.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of playfulness in your show. There's a lot of playfulness in how you connect with the people on the show. And that's one of the things that I've been reminding myself. So when I started incubating the idea to have this kind of a video show, I knew two things. I'd done a lot of deep work, and I knew that I was an incredibly serious person, and I embraced that.
Yeah.
I had been in conflict with my drive and how completely serious I am. And once I recognized that I was an incredibly serious person, I could take play more seriously because it was that important to me. And it shifted my thinking around why joy, fun, silliness, those sorts of things can be good for the community abroad.
Yeah.
I had a teacher, the first person who's in a position of power and influence. The first person that I could tell was actually listening to the words that came out of his mouth when he was teaching, and he was living the message, and he was so playful.
Yeah.
And I had permission then to take connection and comedy and playfulness more seriously because it's that important.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the energy that Portland can offer the rest of the...
And it's something that I have to address in myself all the time. I start and develop these creative endeavors, and then I get really serious. And then I realize, like, oh wait, that's not at all what this is about. This is supposed to be playful. I'm searching for things that make me go woohoo,
right.
you know, like this. The joy is where that energy is, and sometimes it takes a lot of like working and strategy and being precise to make that happen. But I always have to take that breath of joy, like, because that's what it's about.
Totally.
And, yeah.
I know we geeked out a little bit at it, like I was confessing to you, like, I've got this show, I'm so excited about it. I get to talk to people, I love talking to people, and so now I sit alone at my computer, editing video, hunched over, you know, and talking about, like, wait, didn't I do this because it was fun? Mm-hmm. Like, returning to that. And I know you came up with a solution. I know, live show. Yeah. Shorten some of that.
Yeah. So with the podcast, that's what I would do. As far as the editing goes, I would spend hours just listening to the same audio over and over again. But there's something I love about it.
Yeah.
Because you get to refine the verbiage and what that person is saying. You take out the ums, the ahs, and you really, you get this precision of what that person's intent was beyond the words. And I'm doing this to help. You know, when somebody comes on my podcast, I want to help. Like, I'm really excited that they are in the fold and we can make that connection. Mm-hmm. And now we can work on that connection, you know, and get together on how we want to address the world.
Totally. Do you have a strategy for returning to joy in those moments?
I mean, it's as simple. I'm an actor, so it's as simple as, like, putting on the fake joy until it doesn't feel fake anymore.
All right.
And I know that sounds silly, but we have to be silly. We have to be silly. If we don't find our silliness, like, there's just so much in the world that can take us over. So I feel like it's not bad to act happy until you get those muscles working. You know, it's training. You're building that relationship with happiness. So, you know, sometimes we lift our 5-pound weights when we're starting to train again, and we're like, oh, this doesn't feel like it's doing anything. And then later on, we're growing to bigger weights, and then we could be more precise with how we move our muscles. I think the same goes for happiness. You got to learn how to move those muscles.
I don't have anything to add to that. That's pretty good. Moving your happiness muscles. Right on. Well, now, is there anything that you want any of the people that came to play and hear us to know about your world that they may not know already? Yeah.
Well, I mean, I would say live in Portland. That's where I'm putting all my passion into.
Yeah.
It's what I really want to see grow. I'm excited about everything we're doing. I think Portland having its own late night talk show, like a Jimmy Fallon type show. Right now, as we speak, we're working on episode 13, and we've done it consecutively every Monday for 13 weeks with an awesome crew. And we're bringing in amazing people like you. Thank you. And the city's got a whole lot of talent, and I'm excited to showcase that. And we haven't even scratched the surface on the things that we can do.
Heck yeah.
So I'm excited. Live in Portland, which premieres every Monday at 9 on the Lost in Portland Facebook page. That's Lost, the letter N, Portland.
Yes.
You could also keep up on lostinportland.com. That's Lost, the letter N, Portland.com.
Yeah. Right on. Well, thanks for coming to hang out with me and play.
Love it. Yep. Thank you. This is awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yay! We made this thing happen.
We did it.
You're making a face.
Did you do your intros?
Oh. No. Hey! No, let me start from a neutral position.
Cool.
Okay, so what I will sometimes do.
Yeah.
So that I don't have the problem of tripping over any of my person's, like, titles for things. Mm-hmm. I usually introduce my name, and then I say I'm herewith and I gesture, then they get the responsibility of doing it.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Cool.
All right. Hi, I'm Adrianne Gunn, still, and I'm here with my new friend.
Hi, I'm Chris Franklin of Lost in Portland and host of Live in Portland.
Boom!
Yeah!
Just in time. Got that in.
Shocking.
Well, that's how that went. Thanks for joining us on this episode. Thanks for watching, listening, I don't know, reading, imbibing, however you took this in. Thanks for being here. And if you really enjoyed it, I'd love it if you would do all of the things. Like, share, I don't know, ring a bell, bang a gong, tell a friend, and come back next time. I hope you had as much fun as I had.